sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it yet. Just go forward. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out?
Welcome everybody and hello.
It's right on that person. It's different and it's bigger than you think. Kind of coming in. Rise from the ashes and fly like the phoenix is thinking.
Just a couple of quick thoughts. Last week or so, we've talked a lot about relationships, talked about that circle that's around you, people that you associate with. I spent yesterday talking a little bit about stress and how you deal with stress, and hopefully you guys thought a little bit about that. I've received a few questions about relationships and then looking at other things, and this word toxic comes up a lot, and some people feel like they're in a toxic environment or relationship, and how do I deal with this person? How do I deal with that person? Ultimately, and then with stress too, and how those individuals or that environment that they're in, how that affects stress, because that was something I talked about yesterday. Right now, guys, when it comes to relationships, there's a quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson. So I read this last night and I was, it just speaks, it's so great. It says, to be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. We are influenced, whether we realize it or not, by those that are around us. And some people are actively trying to influence us in a way that isn't positive. It's not going to take us where we want to go. The adventure, the effort that goes into becoming who you are and who you should be is something we all need to pay more attention to. And what happens is this level, between the trigger, between the thing that causes stress or the thing that causes toxicity or drama or whatever, and then the response to it, there is that space. And within that space is our power. This is where our control comes from. We control how we respond to every single situation. And so, ladies and gentlemen, learn how to take control during that space, right? And understand how much power that you have. Quit worrying about what other people think, quit worrying about what other people are doing, and take control of your life and become the best version of you. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Now, on that note, we, over the course of the last few weeks, and I've got Kim and Bruce, I need to get you your links. I apologize, I missed that yesterday. So I will, please do me a favor, guys, message me after this so I can get it to you, because as soon as I'm done here, I'm jumping on to another call. But we've been having some of you guys pop on and share insights. Craig, actually, we need to get yours too. And having you guys come on and speak for a little bit. Today, Camilla's going to join us, and she messaged me this last week and asked to talk about a topic. Just obviously, guys, I love analogies and metaphors, and I have a tendency to take them much, much further than I should. And I can grab a hold of one and just beat it to death. But she had one that I thought was incredibly interesting. So before we dive into the analogy, Camilla, tell us a little bit about you and how you started thinking about life and the way you're going to share.
So I am originally from Jamaica, and I've always been in corporate management, like in supply chain management. And then I moved to Canada about 6.5 years ago and switched to operations management. And again, I was in management and corporate world. So everything was going well until COVID, and I got laid off. And when I got laid off, I started doing some personal development courses. And that's how I came across Peter Sage, who gave this analogy of the flow of the river of life. So it's like life as a river. And for me, when I found it, it was so profound. And it made me change the way I think about life, the way I think about like new opportunities, the way I think about possibilities. And I know it's inevitably going to sound familiar, but I just thought that it would be good to share it, because like having a reminder every now and then won't hurt.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is, talk to us about it.
Sure. So I have a little PowerPoint presentation, which is just for visuals.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so let's see. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Wonderful. So we're talking about life going with the flow of the river of life. So if we think about life, let me just minimize this. If we think about life as a river, essentially, it can be long and winding with many twists and many turns, right? And some of them can take us by surprise. Life as a river sometimes can be rough in some places where there are rocks below our feet and we can't quite get our footing. And then at times it can be quite still and calm and peaceful, and we're able to, just take a breath. And then at other times, life, that section of the river can be like quite shallow, where you can stand up and get your footing and kind of enjoy your surroundings with friends, right? And then at other times, the river may seem so deep where you feel like you need a life jacket, or you can't see the bottom and you better know how to tread water. As well as life can be like a river that just throws you a cliff, like out of the blue, something that you totally don't expect, so it's like a cliff or a waterfall that just takes your breath away. But regardless of which section of life you're in, because life can have ups, it can have downs, there can be bad experiences, good experiences, great times, fun times, regardless of what's going on in your river of life, at the end of the day, it's a full life experience. And the way we ought to think of it is that it's there to challenge us, to stretch us, to help us ultimately to grow and to become our best selves. So in talking about the flow of the river of life, what we should be doing is thinking of it that life is generally speaking, it's more fulfilling when we go with the flow of the river of life. Because sometimes in life, God or the universe or the supreme being, whoever you want to call him, is giving us experiences that are good for us. But instead of being open to those possibilities and those new ideas, sometimes we are so stuck in our ways, so stuck in our patterns, so stuck in just the ways of doing things, our previous mindsets, that we dig our heels in. And instead of like leaning into a new opportunity, we find ourselves going down a path that we have already trod just because it's familiar. And usually when we try to dig our heels in and do that, we end up swimming against the river. So just like these salmon on this graphic, trying to swim upstream, going against the flow of the river of life. And sometimes we do that because of like control or logic or fear or rationale. But at the end of the day, going against the flow can cause us to miss out on some of the best experiences in life. So you may ask, how do we go with the flow of the river of life? And for most of us who are on this call, we're already doing it. By virtue of being in a session like this, we're already leaning into the uncomfortable. So some of the ways are we can act on new ideas. Like if you get a new idea, Andrew had us doing meditation the other day and had us write down any ideas that come up. So acting on those ideas would be a way of like going with the flow of the river of life. Another would be getting involved in activities that you've never tried before. You can also, like for those of you who are single, date someone who is not your typical type. Because, sometimes we tend to go out with the same person over and over again. We get the same result. But if we tried something different, we might just get a different result. So just being open. Like it says, being open-minded. Were you going to say something, Andrew?
Go ahead.
Oh, being open-minded, not being closed-minded, and leaning into the uncomfortable, getting out of our comfort zone and participating in challenges. From time to time, Andrew has had like challenges over the past few months. So like doing some of those challenges, especially if it's something that we've never done before, if it's a new experience, that's an ideal way of like just leaning into the flow of the river of life. And so I just wanted to give like a few examples from my life. And one main one was when I was buying my house like 4 years ago. And this is a disclaimer, that's not my house. That's just a house I picked off the internet. So when I was buying my house, I had this idea in my head. I was stuck in this idea that I don't want to live on the main street of any community. And in my community, I remember 4 years ago, my friend and I jumped into her vehicle and we were just driving around. And we came to this particular house that was on the main street. And when we pulled up, I said to her, why are we here? I'm not going to live on Main Street, so there's no need to even look at that house. And I didn't look at it. And we just left. And about 2 weeks later, my realtor called to say he had some appointments set up for me for us to do some viewings. And I went with him. We looked at about 6 houses. And then the very last house turned out to be in that same neighborhood, that very same house. And we pulled up to the house, and he and I had the same conversation. This house is on Main Street. I don't want to live on Main Street. Why are we here? And his response was, well, we're already here, so let's just go ahead and have a look. And I kid you not, if I had 10 things on my list, this house checks like 9 of those boxes. And some of my criteria were not so common, right? So I wanted a paved backyard, and this house had a paved backyard. I got my finished basement, my garage, my double French doors, it just checked all the boxes. And it was profound for me when I looked back at it to see that I could have missed out on the ideal house because I was stuck in this way of, I don't even know where I got the idea from. I was just stuck in this thing in my head that I didn't want to live on Main Street. And because this house was on Main Street, it wasn't for me. But it turned out, because I went to the flow of the river of life, I got the ideal house. And the surprising thing for me was when winter came, that was when I realized that the city only plows the main street in communities. And so, yeah, that worked out for me. And then I have 2 more examples. The next one is actually doing this talk. So when Andrew had first put out the invitation for us to come on and do 5-minute talks, the idea came to me to do this one, but I immediately put it out of my head because I do hair. And most days at this time, I usually have a client in the chair. So I had dismissed the idea because the first thought that came into my head was, I'm not going to have the time. And then last week, one of my clients who was supposed to come this morning let me know that she got a call from Citizenship Canada saying that her citizenship ceremony is this morning and it's the same time as the appointment, so she won't be able to make it. And as I got that message, I sent Andrew the message to say, hey, I want to do this talk. So this is me actively leaning into the uncomfortable, because this is not exactly very comfortable for me to do, but I decided that I was going to do it. And I'm just going to go with the flow of the river of life and get it done. So here I am. And then my last example is what's currently going on with me, which is the Blake Partner Program. This program is the 4th program that is kind of highlighting social media, organic growth, posting on social media. And when I did it in my last programs, whenever we got to that stage, it was always, yeah, I'm out. I'm not posting on social media. This thing is not for me. I'm not doing it. And then here I am in the Blake Partner Program, faced with the same situation again. And so, going with the flow of the river of life, I will be leaning into it, I have accepted the challenge, and I'm going to start posting and, getting out there and building that organic following. So that's me currently going with the flow of the river of life and leaning into the uncomfortable. So those are experiences from my life. And I just wanted to end with a final thought, which is life is like a river with many turns and twists. The challenge is to embrace the experiences of each part of the river by going with the flow of the river of life, being open to where the experiences will take you, and most importantly, enjoying every step of the journey. And that's what I wanted to share. Thank you. I can't hear you, Andrew.
We can't hear you.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there I am. I was saying, well done. Round of applause from everybody. Really great job.
Thanks.
And put it together. You were prepped. So awesome. Well done.
Thanks.
Life is an amazing thing, and it is a journey that we're on. There's going to be those twists and turns. There's going to be, the rapids. There's going to be moments when we can stand up. We can do all of it. So I love the analogy. Absolutely. I love Kim's question. So I'll put it to you, and then I'll throw out my answer. But she asked, do you have an example of when you went against the flow?
When I went against the flow, probably with my divorce. I tried to fight it. It wasn't something that was meant to be. I was supposed to get divorced from this person, and it ended up being the best thing that happened. But it started out as being more difficult than it needed to be, because I didn't want to accept that it was happening, and I fought it. I really fought it. But then when I put my hands up and said, hey, let this just happen. Maybe it's something that should happen for me. Everything just like fit into place like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is where levels of self-awareness are important, and paying attention to other, aspects around you, because there are certain things in your life that you should fight for. Absolutely. But I'm sure, we mentioned the divorce, and, a lot of us have kind of gone through that or something similar where, you recognize later that it's almost like you're fighting for something that is negative, right? That isn't helpful in any way, that isn't really making you grow. It's just pushing you, into an area that you don't want to be. So guys, be willing to fight, but at the same time, understand that fight for what's going to benefit you and not just something that's bringing negativity. So, Sarah and Craig, salmon are born freshwater fish, swim around 100,000 miles during their life in the saltwater. Then they navigate to the exact river where they were born and return there upstream, fighting the whole way. So absolutely. All right. Awesome. I appreciate that, Camilla. Very well done. Craig, I need a logo from you. I don't know if I got a logo. If you got one, just resend it to me through Skype. Forrest saying get out of your comfort zone is what makes us all grow. You must have pain in order to move forward. You do. Success, I've heard it said that success is a lot like wrestling with the gorilla, but you don't stop wrestling when you get tired. You wrestle until the gorilla gets tired, right? Keep going, keep fighting. Don't give up on stuff, guys. Not when you're capable of so much more than you recognize. So coming tomorrow, we're going to dive into marketing, advertising, content, different things like that. I've got a couple of ideas from you guys on what to talk about there. So we will be doing that. Camilla, appreciate you once again coming in. Any of the rest of you that want to be able to do one of these.
Sometimes people have what it takes, but they haven't recognized it today. Just go. So what do you need to do? How do you stand out? So what you need to do is be that person that's different and is bigger than you think.
Thank you, Camilla, and
Rise
thank
from
you,
the ashes
Andrew.
and fly like
Make it a great day, partners.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.